no numbers, there's no pictures, there's no videos, there's no gameplay. I don't like it.
Yo, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope everyone's having a good day so far. Today, Freemers, we are back with another Free Realm Sunrise video. This time around, we are going to be talking about basically the lore of Free Realms explained, or the lore timeline in general. So basically what we're going to talk about is 4 different sources of information that pertain to Free Realms and its lore. And the whole reason I want to talk about this, this has been on my mind for a while. The whole reason I want to talk about it is because there's so many different informations of lore from Free Realms, and it's not really clear, like, what's canon, what's not canon. And I'm here to explain that today, because Freemers, you deserve to know, like, what is the absolute source of information for Free Realms? And to answer your question, it's fairly simple. Okay, so we're gonna dive into this, but let's just go, man. Let's get into it. So, starting off with the base game, Free Realms, the actual game itself. Now, Free Realms, obviously, it's dead. So, currently the game is not active. It's not, can't play it. But, that's where the source material, technically, of Free Realms started. That's where you get most of your lore. But there's so many side quests in Free Realms. There's so many events that happen. It's a lot to nail down. And I guess, sure, some information from it is valid because it is the game itself. But then you gotta think to yourself, like, it is in the game, so it's not something you can physically access at the moment. So is it canon? It's hard to say. But then, of course, you've got to go to next point of information, which is the official Free Realms wiki, which it's not official. The wiki's dead. And, there's a 12-year-old on this site that runs the wiki that doesn't know what he's talking about. And, there's so many spelling errors on the site, so much misinformation on it. Like, some of it is not accurate. And, of course, where does the Free Realms wiki pull all of its source information from? Free Realms. Now, the wiki also does pull information from another source of information that I think currently is pretty credible. And it is, I would say the wiki is kind of in relation to the game, Free Realms. But when you think about the other source of information that the wiki points to, it is, of course, the comics. The Free Realms comics. The comics have so much information in it that I believe is truly canon, because it's a whole story. It's whole deep lore that stays in the comics. It is not in base game Free Realms at all. Although I'm sure you could find information somewhere, but you're going to get most of your lore and information from the comic books. Okay, and then, of course, when you think about the comics, where does the comics, obviously they end on a cliffhanger. So where do the comics go after that? Well, let me point you to my next source of information, which is from yours truly, the complete story of Free Realms Sunrise. My lore comes from a lot of different sources, but here's the thing. Luck of the Draw obviously picks up on a new story of the Realm Keepers. Tells a consistent story. I make things make sense, piece some things together, and create a perfect story where the Realm Keepers have an end to their story. Then, of course, you look at Sunrise Stories. Sunrise Stories is the aftermath of that, brings in a lot of characters in a lot of different locations, and then connects to the final story, which continues off after the comics. Okay? And creates the perfect ending to the Free Realms Sunrise complete story. It's a good ending. It moves on to the world of Palia. We move on to the next thing. The closest thing that we have to Free Realms. But then let me put this all into perspective for you guys, because again, 4 sources of information it's going to get really confusing on what's canon and what's not canon. Let's talk about this. So, we have our 4 sources of information. Now, I know I'm blocking the bottom, but these are the same here. So the Free Realms, the live game, or dead game, whatever you want to call it, is in a frozen state because it cannot be accessed. Then, of course, the wiki in itself, because it relates to Free Realms, the game, and it gets its information from there, it is also in a frozen state because the wiki is, declared as dead. The wiki and the game are in the same boat. They are both dead. They're not active. Okay? So you got those games, they are in a thing, what I like to call a frozen state. They are not moving. They are not doing anything for information-wise. It's all old facts. It's stuff that, isn't fact-checked because obviously, the wiki was probably around during when the game was alive, but it's currently dead, and we can't fact-check those sources, It's hard to know whether those sources are true or not. But then you go over to the live state side of things, where you've got the comics, which are a live source of information, because I can access the comics both physically and digitally. You can't do that with Free Realms. You can't. It's just a fact. But then, of course, you go to the bottom here, the live state, which is my lore, which you can access digitally. You can't access it physically because that would take a lot of work for me to get a book out. But you can access it digitally, and I have information on my YouTube channel discussing all of the lore. You can get that too digitally. It's, what? It makes all of this a live state, and live state is a good state. It's information you can trust that is currently active and is currently ready to read. It's readily available for you to read. And this comes to my next point. So what's the difference between frozen state and live state? Well, the difference between frozen state and live state is frozen state is the not canon side of things. So, because it's a dead game and the wiki is also dead, it is technically not canon. There is not information you can trust from the game or the wiki. However, the comics contain actual lore, and so does the stuff I wrote, that is canon to the, the Free Realms universe. It is canon. All of it's canon. I made everything make sense in the story I wrote. The comics, they're in rough patches, but they do make sense, and there's a lot of cool information in there. It makes it canon. And because it's readily available and it's alive, it's there. It's not dead. You can access it. It makes it canon. It really does. And that's the difference between the live state and frozen state. And the Free Realms lore timeline it's a little fractured, but it's there. You could say like these timelines, if you were to put like a line here, the timelines kind of branch off. Like this is like, the frozen state timeline. This is the live state timeline. And, I really do believe like this is accurate information that you can readily read. This is like information you can't really trust unless, Free Realm Sunrise releases and we can play it for ourselves and be like, okay, we can fact check all of this, But, yeah, that's going to be the video for today. But thank you guys for watching. If you did, as always, I appreciate it a ton. And I will see you guys in the next video. And, yeah, goodbye.